Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
Let me tell you, the dopamine, it's flowing.
I am damn excited. Damn excited.
We are so excited to be joining you guys tonight.
Oh! Well, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will, Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. It's a damn fun Tuesday. Damn fine Tuesday. Sterling and Brisco, Arrowhead Addict, coming at you. So much to talk about. I mean, just a plethora of things that are permeating through Brisco and myself's brains. It might be the dead period. Doesn't matter. We're going to bring you the best content we possibly can. I actually do want to get into a couple of fun, more evergreen topics with Brisco today. First and foremost, talking in regards to where do we think the Chiefs are going to improve at stylistically even this year? It doesn't have to be players or positions, but even stylistically. And maybe some spots where some regression might take place. Again, it doesn't have to be personnel, but just where we think this team maybe won't sustain what transpired through last year. I do want to talk about some of the GM rankings that were placed as well, which one of the major publications had Brett Veach as the 5th best GM in football, which I think is asinine. But before we get into all of that, Brisco, how are you?
Sterling, I'm great. And as we talked about pre-show, today we're going to talk about the news that everybody's talking about. We have, of course, the news, the storylines spinning off of the news. We have the consequences of those storylines, and then, of course, the narratives. And when we're going to talk about the narratives, it's going to fully circle back to that news that we're going to look ahead, and then we're going to do some projecting and some reflecting on the narratives. Welcome to Tuesdays with Sterling.
Oh yeah, baby. So much. I mean, it's just a wealth of knowledge.
I will say that I got a little jolt of energy when you said that Brett Veach being ranked 5th among NFL GMs was asinine. I heard you say that, and I went, okay, well, we've at least got like 10 good minutes, because I think I know what my take is in response to your take, and I haven't even seen these rankings.
Yeah, I'm pissed. So we'll get into that in just a moment. Gonna be a lot of fun. But before we do all of that, I got to give a huge shout out to something that I love, something that I use, and something that I hope you guys love and use as well. That's Underdog, baby. Yeah, I'm talking Underdog. I know it's not football season. It's baseball season. So take a swing at picking baseball this season on Underdog. It is one of the leading sports apps. Yeah, you heard me right. Underdog. You can play now in your state. Their app has over 100,000 5-star reviews and millions of players. I am one of those. Playing on Underdog is a can of corn, just like Kyle Isabel running down a ball in the outfield. So make sure you just download the app, pick higher or lower on player stats like home runs, strikeouts, total bases, and more. And then just like that, if you get your picks correct, you could win up to 1,000 times your money. So you could turn $1 into 1,000 just with your own baseball knowledge. Again, I love Underdog. Tonight's a little different. I do a lot of Royals stuff, obviously, with Royals and Yankees. Noah Cameron on the bump for KC. Probably take the higher on strikeouts for Noah Cameron. Max Fried, I would take the lower on strikeouts. Okay? I'll say it. Salvador Perez, higher. 1.5 bases, 2 bases, doesn't matter. Give me the higher. I think him against a lefty, I'm going to enjoy. I'm going to enjoy that. So that's what I'm doing with Underdog this afternoon. But if you want to join, we're going to give you some bonuses. So if you download the Underdog app and sign up with promo code Arrowhead Addict to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit, That's promo code Arrowhead Addict. You must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado, for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and President State where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concern with your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncbgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
8.7. It's a good one. I mean, it was really strong. I know you weren't 100% content with the way you stuck that landing, but that was a dang good read by you.
Thank you.
Great disclaimer.
Thank you. Hi from Denmark. Go Chiefs. Appreciate that. From
Very cool.
Jeremias. Don says KC versus Washington in the Super Bowl. Wouldn't hate it. And then Jake Palmer says, what would be more monumental? An outstanding trio of Rice, Worthy, and Royals, or of Fulton, McDuffie, and Watson? And that is an outstanding question, Jake. Let's actually start there. Brisco, I'll let you take the first crack at that because that's really fun.
Yeah, I mean, if I get the power to make one of those trios a, quote, outstanding trio, I'll take the receivers because I think I mean, this is also obviously true because he's a rookie and the only rookie of that group. Obviously, Fulton's new to the team, but Jalen Royals is clearly the sixth player on that list in terms of like what he's proven, what you can expect for him right now. So if you could guarantee for me that Rashee Rice comes back and looks like the guy he was pre-injury, Xavier Worthy comes back and continues to build on the guy that we saw down the stretch and even in the Super Bowl, and Royals ends up being even just like a passable mid-level wide receiver 3, I'd take that in a heartbeat. I think something close to the best case scenario is going to happen for those corners. I think I'll say this. I think I would rather have the wide receiver trio be, air quotes, outstanding, because I think it's more likely that the cornerback trio will be fully by its own accord without any magical spells cast by me.
Yeah, I think that's probably a great way of putting it. I think I'd be in the exact same camp as you. Part of it is I believe in the cornerbacks more.
Take a sneeze. Have a cough. Have a sneeze. It's okay. I'm here for you. That's okay. Let it out. Get that air out. Get that. I don't know if it's a cough, a sneeze, a little tickle. You got a little tickle in your pickle, whatever. What?
Ate some nuts before the show. Almonds, pistachios, walnuts. It was a nice combo.
That's an interest. Is that a mix?
Raisins.
You mixing that yourself? It's a trail mix.
Trader
bag?
Joe's. It's a nice salty nut mix. Yeah, it was great.
I'm a little bit allergic to walnuts. Didn't know that until I was like 25.
Congrats on the weak bloodlines.
I have way bigger issues than that. My pancreas causes me far more problems than walnuts.
Yeah, good call. Good call. Good question though, Jake. But yeah, I think wide receiver would be if I had my druthers. Well, I think the cornerback trio is just going to be damn good. If you've heard me at all, I'm all in on Christian Fulton having a quote unquote breakout season. All right. Let's get into the fun conversation that was Brett Veach being ranked 5th on the best GMs in football. Let me see if I can pull the article back up. That was dumb.
I've got it. I think. Is it the Yahoo one?
I believe it's the Yahoo top GMs.
Yahoo had him at 5.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. By Matt Johnson, correct. Yes, by Matt Johnson.
Yeah.
Howie Roseman, and it's just all glowing. Les Snead of the Rams, all glowing. Brad Holmes of the Lions, all glowing. Eric DeCosta of the Ravens, everything all glowing. Number 5, Brett Veach. Some big whiffs, overpaying Jawan Taylor with draft whiffs on FAU, Sky Moore, Clyde, McCole Hardman, and Wanye Morris. He is an all-time great quarterbacking coach. Now he needs to find a way to start putting pass catchers and better offensive line around Mahomes. Yeah, because that's what I would also say about the guy who's won the most Super Bowls on this list by a wide margin. Yeah, that's the guy that needs to improve, not everyone else. Sure. Yeah, because we all know that all those other coaches, they all must be bums, right? I also love that it starts by almost giving a dig at Brett Veach. The dig of he discovered, in quotations, Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, I don't want to give him all the credit for that one. Just discovered him in quotes. Nice. Good job, Yahoo. You're a Yahoo. Dumbass. Gosh, I am so mad right now. I'm angry. I am vividly turning red. I absolutely hate the disrespect that Brett Veach receives. Like, why is it the fact that, okay, so he's got a great head coach. So that means we have to move him down lower because he helped discover Patrick Mahomes, because he helped find him and say, I'm pounding the table. I want Patrick here in Kansas City. That now that's used against him because he is here. Like, I like the Rams. I like Les Snead. He's done a great job, but second in the NFL, you won one ring. You went all in. Congratulations. Nice. You've had some good late round draft picks. Congrats. That's nice. Oh, how about Eric DeCosta? You mean Ozzie Newsome? How does that happen? How does Brett Veach get taken down because he has good pieces and good coaching staff and players around him, as he is the GM that he helped bring here? The depth of KC is, in my opinion, the strong suit of them. And then Eric DeCosta just took over for Ozzie Newsome. It's like, well, although this is basically all Ozzie, we'll just go ahead and say Eric DeCosta has it too. We'll just grandfather him in. What are we doing here? Yeah, because they've won a lot of games in the playoffs. Congrats on the regular season wins, Ravens. Nice. I actually have no issue with Brad Holmes because I've perpetually said I think he's the most underrated GM in football. I've said that. I think it's maybe a little crazy. He's above KC and Brett Veach, but I at least understand from the turnaround of the Lions from where they were to where they are now. Again, yet to hoist a Lombardi, but I will acquiesce that I think Brad Holmes is phenomenal. Howie Roseman, I have zero issue with either. I can't stand the Eagles now. Bleep them. Kick rocks, pound sand. But I hate him, but I have to respect it. I don't hate Howie. Talked to him before the Super Bowl. Seemed like a nice fellow. Answered my question. I like that. Thank you, Howie. But the point remains, I might dislike the Eagles, but I respect the hell out of him, and I do think you can make it a very strong argument that he is number one. But Veach at 5 is asinine. Absolutely absurd. Sorry, Yahoo. I'm going to delete my Yahoo Fantasy Baseball app right now because of you, because of this Matt Johnson fellow. I'm not going to because I'm doing pretty good in it, but you get the point. I'm angry at you, Matt. I have a certain lack of skills. I probably won't find you, but if I did, you're going to buy me a beer and we'll sit down and have a semi-cordial conversation. I will raise my voice.
I think it's awesome that you have acknowledged that if Brett Veach was third on this list, it would be pretty okay. But because he is 5th on this list, your day is ruined.
Ruined.
Look, man, a whole bunch of your specific points there. I'm right along with you. I will note, just in terms of like, just taking some ownership over where we put our energy. And look, I think this is as good a topic as anything to kick around here on June 10th. But I was looking for this story. I didn't know who wrote it. And as I was looking for NFL GM rankings, I also found one on NBC Sports that has a combo of Andy Reid and Brett Veach at 2, which also kind of seems like a little disrespectful, but they did that for Sean McVay and Les Snead also. So it's not like that just did it for them. A lot of the like kind of, the co-managing, the co-parenting groups of your head coach GM were written that way. And then obviously Howie's at 1. You get to take your victory lap the year after you win a Super Bowl. I think Veach spent a lot of time at 1 in these lists after winning. There's a Pro Football Network one that had Veach at 2 behind Howie. I think 5 is fine if you're like using your brain and trying to make an argument. I'm not saying that's what this Yahoo story is doing, because I do think, again, like to the point of nitpicking the argument, which is what you should do after a story goes up and you don't like the argument it made. The quote, big whiffs on Juwan Taylor and Felix and Sky Moore and Clyde and all of that. Those are real whiffs. Those do ding Brett Veach's resume. Every general manager has 5 of those guys if they've been doing the job for 5 years, right?
Who's the first rounder that Howie drafted that was cut and then before Justin Jefferson was drafted? Are we taking crazy pills? The guy from TCU that went to Minnesota? Oh, but that's
talking about the receiver.
Yes. Oh, but that doesn't make the list, huh? The guy that's drafted, I believe, wasn't it before Justin Jefferson? Yeah, nice. That doesn't get brought up, but somehow McCole Hardman does. When, by the way, was drafted after like around at least McCole Hardman, Andy Isabella. Look at the list. Jalen Rager.
Thank you, Ronson trade. I was getting there.
Gosh, like it makes me even more
one
mad.
pick before Justin Jefferson. So here's my thing. Oh, you've already your blood pressure's high enough, Stu. You take some deep breaths. I don't want those mustache hairs turning gray. Okay, there we go. Deep breaths, cough it out, take a breath. You're going to be okay. Every GM can have that counter argument kind of built of like, here's why this GM is a little overrated. And I think I could probably make that argument for Howie Roseman, who I also think is probably deserving of the 1 slot right now, because you've also, here's another undercut of Howie just to keep playing this game, right? The Eagles' cash spending and their structure for contracts is really in a world of its own. That's not a lever that Brett Veach can pull as often as Howie can pull that lever. And so in 5 or 6 years, the Eagles' front office outlook is not going to be nearly as bright. I think it's going to be fine. They're not going to turn into the Saints because they're paying good players. They have a good team that'll probably continue to beget good teams. But you can always nitpick. If anything, in the Brett Veach era, I have been somebody who will go on and say, like, look, Patrick Mahomes covers a lot of ills. That we saw the Clyde pick in real time, and you and I were on the right side of history there. The Felix pick is one that I think was better process than Clyde, but right now the results haven't been very good. Last year, the season falls apart down the stretch because they didn't ever get left tackle solved. The issue there, as somebody who, let me say again, as somebody who I think maybe at least locally, look, man, you bring a Super Bowl to Kansas City, you reach deity status. You go back to back, you're talking about 3 rings in that period, and you are elevating above deities. You have elevated above Mount Rushmore. You are something onto a saint at that point, and understandably. I think sometimes Brett Veach's success, the Chiefs' general success, makes people forget a couple of the swings and misses that Veach has had. What I will say also, though, is by being the favorite and the team that was in the Super Bowl again and this time lost it, now your misses are also amplified. I could make the argument that Veach's successes were over-amplified a little bit throughout the most successful stretch of football in modern NFL history. Maybe Veach got 10% too much credit. Well, when left tackle's a problem, Veach is getting 50% too much blame. I think there is an exposure problem with the Chiefs that leads to bad takes from around the national perspective. I really don't care if you put Veach 1 to 5-ish, I guess. If you were going to do like a pick your GM, you're starting a new team, who do you want? You get the GM, but not the coach and the quarterback. I'm talking myself into a little bit of a circle because I also end up at the point of like, okay, so what you want to do really is judge Brett Veach independently of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Well, he hasn't been doing the job independently of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. He's been building a team for Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. So I don't think that criticism holds a whole lot of water. I think him being anywhere. Here's the last thing. Again, I think I already said this on some level, but like in 2 years, Howie won't be 1. In 2 years, Howie will be 3. And whoever won the Super Bowl the year before will be 1. And whoever was second, whoever lost the Super Bowl in a close game is probably going to have their GM at 2. I don't put a lot of stock in these rankings because I think a lot of them are so reactive. I think it's a good conversation topic for you and me on a Tuesday in June because it lets us take a little bit of a pass at how you do and don't credit the front office as teams find their success or make their mistakes.
Yeah, I think you're right. But the other part of me is just sitting here going, you Yahoo. Yeah, you Yahoo. And
can I tell you something
Matt
else about
Johnson
Yahoo
right
that makes me more mad than the Brett Veach thing?
What?
Here's a clause at the top of a story by, quote, Yahoo Sports this morning. The story is why Jameson Williams is no longer a boom or bust fantasy football option in 2025. Here's the first paragraph in parentheses. This article was written with the assistance of Cast Magic, an AI tool, and reviewed by our editorial team to ensure accuracy. Please reach out to us if you notice any mistakes.
Hate it. Use an AI to write your articles. Love it.
My favorite part of that is, hey, if you notice any mistakes, let us know, because we're just not going to catch them all. They're just going to slip through the cracks, and then we need you to be a free, not freelance, a free copy editor for our giant multi-international website. Really bleak stuff out here.
Yeah. So again, 1, 2, 3, I'm okay with because I can make an argument. I won't love it, but I can understand it. Like Brad Holmes, for example, right? But the Eric DeCosta one is the one that really gets me because if you're using, well, he got into a good situation in Brett Veach.
Yeah.
then how can you not use that when Ozzy set up? And by the way, Harbaugh's been there as well for DaCosta. The first four, if you read it, they're glowing reports of all four of those GMs. Once you get to Veach, it's half negative. And I just think it's unfair. You're using a second rounder in McCole Hardman, who, by the way, had a pretty nice career. Not great, but a solid career as a bust.
Wanye Morris being a, quote, big whiff is laughable.
A third-round swing tackle who's actually played in games, like that is it's absurd. Again, but no mention of the guy the wide receiver that was drafted one pick before Justin Jefferson that forced the Eagles to go out and overpay for A.J. Brown. Nice. Yeah. No, of course. Don't want to do that. Don't want to have any sort of nuance here.
It's just like partially with the AI stuff of just like where that's the football writing world is headed there and like incredibly bleakly. And then stuff like this from, again, like my guess, I don't know this writer from Adam. I don't know him at all. My guess is that this guy was thinking, all right, how am I not going to just have the same rankings everybody else has? Well, the Chiefs got absolutely caved in the Super Bowl. Maybe we'll drop Veach down a couple of spots. I saw Chris Sims today as Patrick Mahomes as his number 4 quarterback in football, as the last of the quote core 4. We are in this point of the offseason where, I mean, look, I don't think this GM ranking story is generating clicks, if I'm being honest. I kind of know how this ecosystem works, and I don't really think this is making anybody a whole bunch of money.
It is now after I'm yelling at him.
After you screamed about it. We spared everyone from having to actually go find it. I'm the only person who saw this and wasn't otherwise going to see it today. But like deciding, and this is less to you and more to the audience, because you and I have to keep finding stuff to talk about, right? If you're in the audience now, I know I'm just cutting an infomercial, but this is why this matters. The bad scrambled together slop that hits the internet in mass, just hoping to find enough clicks to pay for lunch. That slop is the reason that you subscribe to Arrowhead Addict, because at bare minimum, you should expect to tune in to watch these shows, knowing that the people on screen care about being right as much as possible, just like care about the truth, care about trying to represent things fairly and be accurate, that we know the Kansas City Chiefs very, very well. You also, as the viewer and listener, also, I'm sure, know about the Kansas City Chiefs very, very well. So we're going to speak the same language here, and we're going to remember both the hits and the misses of recent years. And we're going to do it in good faith in a way that hopefully is entertaining. If you had to only find your Chiefs coverage nationally, I think everybody would be more miserable. Everybody would be worse off because of it. It's why Arrowhead Addict matters. It's why KC Sports Network matters. It's why there's a lot of value, I believe, in what we do here. It's covering a silly sport. It's doing some silly, it's most people's hobby. We're lucky enough for it to be our jobs. But we got to take it seriously enough to just help get through this muck.
And what it comes down to is they also know that 31 fan bases will love when they bleep on the Chiefs. That's what it comes down to.
Putting Veach at 5 doesn't do that. Jeremiah, I hope we're pronouncing your name correctly, and if not, please let us know. From Denmark, say Greg Rosenthal and Patrick Claiborne had Veach as 7 on their ranking from May 26th on NFL Daily. I didn't see that. Those guys do pretty good work most of the time. And honestly, you might not be able to come with me on this, Stu. I don't know. I think the worst part of this Yahoo Veach at 5 thing is what you have identified of like, we have 4 perfect general managers and then one guy who's made a couple mistakes. If knowing that Rosenthal and Claiborne do good work, if they were able to explain, I don't know who their top 6 were. I'm guessing it's not the top 6 you'd probably expect. If they were able to make their argument and present some reasons for getting to that point, there's plenty of room to disagree on a couple of spots of rankings here or there. This Yahoo one does extremely little to move me.
Again, I've acquiesced. I've said I could see 3, and I will not get angry. 5, you have my wrath. The wrath of Stu. Okay? You don't want it. You don't want this wrath.
I don't want this wrath. That's very, very true.
All right, moving on because it's really not that big of a deal.
Got us through a little bit of a
I'm mad.
slow
still.
Tuesday.
I'm
though.
still mad. I'm sorry. I'll admit it. I'm still mad. I'm trying not to let it affect me. I'm the one that's supposed to be hard on Brett Veach. Like, that was my bit. Not even a bit. I was the one that hated the Clyde pick. I was the one that hated the Jawan Taylor signing. I'm the one that's supposed to be harsh on, it's like your brother. Like, I can make fun of my brother, but you can't. I'm an only child. Like, I can make fun of my dog. You can't make fun of my dog, okay? No. That's what I get. That's what happens.
I'll make fun of your dog.
I'm not saying he's perfect, okay? No one's perfect. Po Buddy's nerfect. But Brett Veach is top 3 GM in football. No questions asked. All right, let's get in the next part that I want to talk about with you, Brisco.
Hit me.
Some spots that we think that the Chiefs might improve. We've talked about breakout players. We've talked about regression players. But on like the general landscape of Kansas City, for example, like I think the Chiefs are going to be a lot better with the deep ball this year. Mm-hmm. Now, I know a lot of people say this. I know a lot of people have talked about this. But the reasoning, I think, is sound in regards to they were going to be better last year. From everyone that was there at training camp, you know, I went a day or two, whenever the people who were there every single day, that was a focal point. Yep. They tried, and it looked good. The issue was, well, Hollywood got injured. Xavier Worthy was a rookie and didn't get the same opportunity week 1 as he did later on in the season. And then Rashee Rice obviously got injured week 3. So stuff happened. And so when that happened, the entire offensive game plan went out the window. That's not even mentioning the offensive line issues of Kingsley Sumatia, and then it was Wanya Morris, and then it was Donovan Smith, and then it was
DJ Humphries,
and then it was Joe Tooney. Like, so that's why I keep saying we're going to look back on last year and actually look at it in a better light than we currently are, which I've already done. Yep. But just the amount of injuries and major injuries to major pieces, and the fact that the entire offensive game plan was thrown out the window basically right when Hollywood went down, which again, part of the NFL, you adjust, and the Chiefs adjust better than any team in the entire league, evidenced by their 15-2 record and going to yet again another Super Bowl. But the point remains, I do think the offensive style will go more back to what we once saw. And I'm not saying when Tyreek Hill was here, because I think that's going to be the initial thought. It's the year he left, actually. It's the year after that, which, by the way, Brett Veach was not given credit for moving on from Tyreek Hill, shockingly, in that Brett Veach GM ranking.
Yeah, that's a good thing to include on an argument for him, is moving Tyreek Hill pretty much at the perfect time and then turning that draft into a shockingly good haul.
And going to 3 straight Super Bowls after you trade a franchise player, winning 2 of them. But besides the point, of course.
They lost the last one, though. So
yeah, shoot.
They might be bad.
67%, 2 out of 3? No, that can't be good. Got to put Eric DeCosta above him.
I think your DeCosta beef is probably the best one. He's like, well, look, he didn't technically draft Patrick Mahomes. Number 3, Eric DeCosta.
Yeah, like that's my whole point. That is my point. It's Eric DeCosta. That's the one that's getting me.
No, I think it's okay. Yeah.
You put Ozzie Newsome 4. Okay, fine.
Yeah, it was like, it's just Ozzie Newsome 4, Glenn Dorsey. Damn it, John Dorsey 5. Glenn Dorsey at 5 was a draft pick.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, I'm moving on. So I do think the wide receiver room, coupled with the better offensive line play, which again, maybe I'm counting too much on offensive line play and maybe wishing too much on offensive line play, because we last year thought, okay, well, at least you have a base with Wanya Morris. If they thought it was so bad, they would have brought in DJ Humphries or Donovan Smith. And then we found out Donovan Smith, I believe, was also still a little injured at that point, so it didn't really matter. Point remains, we've not seen Jalen Moore or Josh Simmons play in an NFL game. I still think what we know, what we have heard, what we have seen, this is still going to be a better offensive line probably overall than last year. And at least Patrick understands he's going to have to trust him more. Matt Nagy spoke last week, which was on Wednesday, coordinator day, and tried to really massage this, but talked about how, yeah, maybe he does know a little too much, and we do need to have him trust his instincts a little more in regards to Patrick. And maybe he didn't always trust his offensive line. He was very massaging around it while saying that, wanted to make sure I'm not throwing anyone under the bus, right? It was very political or politician, so to speak. Point remains, I'm all into the offense looking like it was the year after Tyreek Hill left, which was Patrick's, in my opinion, one of his most impressive seasons. So that's where I'm at with this Chiefs team currently. That's some aspect of this team that I think is taking a drastic step forward.
Yeah, I mean, they're betting on it. And even like, even just kind of that breakdown, we've talked about this issue in general a bunch already, and we'll continue talking about it a bunch until it's fixed, hopefully sometime in September. But the one element of it there that just kind of clicked into place as you were talking about it is really it. At the time, it felt like Hollywood's injury was the start of the death of the deep ball renaissance that we were all hoping for. And obviously that was a huge part of it. With the benefit of hindsight now, Rashee Rice getting hurt was really the nail in the coffin. Not because he is a deep threat or because he was going to be one of the guys stretching the field. Obviously, he can do a little bit of stuff in the mid-range. You know, weapons get used different ways. The real right way that Rice would have opened things up is, first of all, it would have taken some of the burden off Travis Kelce, something else we talked about a ton. But when you have Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice working in that underneath, that intermediate range, the stress on a defense, it has to feel borderline impossible. It's one of the things where, again, fingers crossed, knock on wood, I'm trading a little bit of my skepticism for cautious optimism on Rashee Rice's knee because he's looked good. It's just a big recovery, not an ACL, but a big recovery. So it kind of stresses me out in June. But so far, he seems like he's hit every signpost you could ask for. But even after losing Hollywood last year, I think if you would have gotten week 10 Rashee Rice with week 10 or week 12 and on Xavier Worthy, I think it would have felt like the deep ball came back then. Obviously, Worthy was still on the field, and he got a couple of deep opportunities, and some Mahomes didn't hit him where he needed to, and a couple times Worthy could have done more with those deep balls. But I think the snowballing effect is so many factors deep. It is the multiple pass catchers going down. It is the offensive line struggles. It is losing a lot of juice in your running game and not being able to get as much out of that as you expected. But I really think especially, again, it's all these factors together, but losing Rice or losing Hollywood and then losing Rice, your true number one, who I think could have left a lot open for Xavier Worthy, it just made that offense so congested. We knew that they were successful, but almost never explosive. I think we're going to get a good season from Hollywood. I think we're going to get a good season from Rashee Rice. I think we're going to see all those pieces come together, and I'm with you in terms of underlining and highlighting that as probably the biggest single upgrade over last season. But I think at this point they could get away with it, even if Hollywood is just fine, even if he's just kind of a guy. I think his ceiling's pretty good for that. But that's where I'm settling now. Is just even without a ton from Kelce, Rice and Worthy is an awesome duo to play off of each other. They just got to be out there.
Yeah. A spot for regression. And I don't like to be negative again, even at this point. And maybe we'll find out in a month or two, even once we get more into the weeds of everything. You know, we'll see guys. And I'm nervous about the Chiefs' run defense this upcoming year compared to what it once was last year. Last year was top 10 in a lot of categories. It was borderline top 5. They were, let me see here. They were 8th overall in rush yards against. And they were 6th tied for 5th. What is that? 1, 2, 3. Tied for 5th at 4.1 yards per carry against. Their rush defense was really, really good last year. Like, really good. I don't think it's going to be quite as good this year because I don't think Mike Pennell is going to play that many snaps. Tershawn Wharton didn't necessarily always grade out great in run defense. Derek Nottie, I know, hasn't always graded out great in run defense. But the fact of the matter is Derek Nottie was able to take on double teams at least. He was still a huge body that played a huge amount of snaps. I don't know because it's maybe the unknown of Marlon Tuipulotu or Fabian Lovett, or I don't know what Omar Norman Lott's going to look like in run defense. I know Karlaftis will do his thing. I know that. I do know also that Mike Dana's pretty dang good in run defense. Can Charles Omenihu, who I'm very high on, he's going to be a great pass rusher. Can he also set the edge the way that Mike Dana did that was his role, right? But I expect to see a lot less Mike Dana this year. I really do. I don't think we're going to see a ton of him. So I guess my concern is, will the Chiefs' run defense take a step back? I'm high on Jaden Hicks, but Justin Reed was really good in that role as well. right? I know it's, again, safety, run defense, not always what you want to see, but he could get called to the line of scrimmage pretty often, and he was going to make an impact. I trust Nick Bolton. I trust Leo on the snaps that he's doing that. But I think overall, you'll see some regression, if you will. I don't know if the Royals or the Chiefs will have a top 5, top 7 run defense in the NFL. I think it will probably be more middle of the pack. Again, a lot of this is predicated on I have a little bit of concern next to Chris Jones overall.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's not what I expected. And this isn't even just like a snarky thing. Like, this is an actual something I want to know kind of where you're at. Is like if losing Derek Nottie and Tershawn Wharton is something that causes you alarm in run defense, how much is Nick Bolton fixing? Because now he's gone from being a very, very good player on a rookie contract to being a very, very good player who's got a big contract, big cap hit coming in the year after, in the next couple of years. Like, there's a lot of stress on Nick Bolton in terms of what he's going to do in the middle of this defense. Derek Nottie took a step back in terms of snap counts last year. I'm with you on the defensive tackle next to Chris Jones. I'm sure that'll be Jerry Tillery a chunk of the time, but he's also, I think, more of the 3-tech sort of rotational guy behind Jones, giving him more of the Tershawn Wharton role, honestly, which I am a little bit alarmed that Mike Pennell seems to be plan A. He just keeps getting older and keeps playing a lot of snaps and keeps being pretty good. So I'm not betting against him, but I figured there'd be another investment in the position, and maybe there still will be. That might be the spot where in training camp cut downs, you say, hey, there are a lot of players, secondary players on defense, almost anybody on offense. There are a lot of position groups where you would have a hard time getting somebody off the street or off another team's squad in late August and adding them to this team and just having it all be fine and dandy. You could do that with a nose tackle, though. You could bring whatever veteran cut, whatever, frankly, like Mike Pennell equivalent, Derek Nottie equivalent. Maybe it's a rookie in the Keandre Coburn sort of mold of a guy who another team liked but couldn't find a spot for. Now you can be a landing spot for him, or it is finding one of those vets. I think there's a really good chance. Maybe it's just giving Marlon and Lovett those first two cracks at the spots. Tuipulotu was here last year on the practice squad, and he was around, so that gives him maybe a little bit of an advantage. I'm with you on that defensive tackle spot being a little bit confusing, but I think they're just kind of throwing numbers at it, and I'd stand for 1 or 2 more numbers being thrown at it. But I'm not too concerned about the run defense as a whole. I guess I would also say that if you told me right now I can hit a big button, it'll guarantee that the Chiefs have the number 12 run defense in football next year, I'd go ahead and hit that button. I'd go ahead and take 12 sight unseen, because the pass defense is going to be the thing that always matters more in the current NFL. You can't be a disaster in run defense, but if you're about NFL average, you can kind of hold your water, and I think the Chiefs' pass defense this year could be special.
Well, I guess that's more or less where I'm coming from, where I think the Chiefs' run defense was top 5-ish, and they'll probably be more like top 12-ish, top 15-ish.
Yep. And I'd settle for that out of court.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be bad. I just think that I don't think they'll be bad. I think they'll be average, when last year I thought they were really, really good, if that's fair. Because I do think you're right.
So that would technically still be a regression. I'm just not sure necessarily who to bet that on, because I don't think I love Derek Nottie. I got a soft spot for Derek Nottie. He wasn't a difference maker last year. You're not really saying that necessarily. No. But I share some of your concerns, but maybe not quite as strongly, because I think I don't know, man. I am very curious. Like, this would be the worst use of truth serum anywhere in the world, most likely. But I would love to get Brett Veach to just tell me God's honest truth. Is Marlon Tuipulotu good? Are you guys planning? Do you like him? Is he just around? What's the plan for him? And also, what happened with Keandre Coburn? Those are my two useless interior defensive line questions for Brett Veach.
Which is funny, because I actually like them bringing in Jerry Tillery, and I like the draft pick of Omar Norman-Lott. It's just, again,
I'll say this might be too hot. I don't know if you guys have a dump button. If this is too hot of a take, maybe I'm not here next week. I also like Chris Jones. I know.
Shocking.
Sorry if I've scorched your eardrums, audience.
You son of a.
Obviously not exactly Vince Wilfork stylistically, but I just wanted to mention Chris Jones since we're talking about the interior defensive line.
Good call. Fair. tough but fair.
We should mention Chris Jones just day to day.
I love this from Ronson Trey. This might be the best. Just a circle back.
This is a good full circle moment.
Marlon Tupelotu was drafted by Howie, though. Must be a stud, right? Take that, Yahoo. Either you're all in on Marlon Tupelotu or Howie Roseman is not the best GM in football. Yeah. Well, they used AI probably, so can't compute.
Tried to divide all of Howie Roseman's bad draft picks, but couldn't because the number was 0. Cannot divide by 0.
All right, before we get out, any more? I think the
My
run
fantasy
game
sleeper pick for 2025 is Sky Moore.
I do think that the running back room for KC will improve. Again, I don't love the names. I think the names are solid, but I think as just a whole, general speaking, it's kind of like how I am with the run defense. How I just don't think that it's going to be top 5. I don't think the Chiefs' run offense is going to be bottom 1.
Yeah, right.
bottom 3.
Right.
I just think there's just too much. And it was funny when Kareem Hunt first came back to KC, it was like, oh, well, they're not getting a lot of yards per carry, but the efficiency numbers are there. And then eventually it started to dwindle down, and we're like, yeah, at least, yeah, we can't really use that even as a positive anymore because the efficiency numbers are starting to dwindle. I just think that whether it's Pacheco or Elijah Mitchell or Brashard Smith or Kareem Hunt, who just might have fewer touches, fewer snaps, and he looks more like the guy that first came back to KC, who was that efficient dude in short yardage situations. I just think the Chiefs' offense will be more, or Chiefs' run offense will be more 18th-ish, 22nd-ish, which is, again, I think a pretty large progression versus last year's bottom 3.
Yeah, and really, I think the advantage of the running group right now is that you need guys who can do certain things. Like you need somebody to show real aptitude for catching passes out of the backfield, running routes out of the backfield. You assume that Smith is your best nominee for that, but Elijah Mitchell can do a little bit of that. You need one of those two. You have your oft injured veteran and your still pretty new to the position rookie. You need one of those guys to give you some speed and some pass catching and some field stretching as a running back. Between Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco, you need one of them to be a relatively reliable, I don't want to say workhorse. I think it's going to be a committee regardless. But you need one of those guys who you can give 12 carries pretty much every game. And 12 is a fine number. It doesn't need to be 25. I think they're going to get that out of this group. I as we've talked about a few weeks in a row now, I think I've found myself full circle, and now I'm one of the last dudes in the Isaiah Pacheco fan club. It's not as poppin' as it was previously, but I wasn't really in here when it was poppin'. No pun intended. I feel like he's a perfectly fine running back who you're going to be glad is on your football team next year. Maybe Kareem Hunt is a part of that mix. I think Hunt and Elijah Mitchell, they're incredibly different builds for running backs in terms of what you hope to get from them. It wouldn't surprise me if one of those guys just doesn't make the cut. We could do this in a week or two of our roster slot projection, not even the roster projection, just how many spots are safe. I think right now, I think only Isaiah Pacheco and probably Brashard Smith are safe at running back. And you can carry 4. If Mitchell and Hunt are both healthy and showing good things in training camp but can do different roles, you're carrying those 4, and Carson Steele and the and Jake Brenningstool at tight end, they can grab a practice squad spot and have them there for the future. But I hope Mitchell stays healthy and looks good in camp. That would be really fun.
That might be a fun little segment next week.
That's what I'm saying.
Who's safe, who's not, who's on the bubble.
How many roster spots would you bet your life on right now? And injuries notwithstanding, obviously,
Yeah.
how many roster spots are absolute guarantees?
Well, bet my life, I probably wouldn't do that because that seems very not worth it. I feel like I'm not gaining anything from this, but I'll feel strongly about it. If that's I'm not going to die on that hill, but I might take a razor scooter to the shin.
See, I've still got a taser bet that I haven't paid off since 2020 because Seth Kaiser's afraid to tase me. So these bets are hard to pay off. If Seth just had to kill me, he would have done it years ago.
At least you'd be on time. All right, this was fun. I really enjoyed this. Everyone, appreciate you guys hanging out with us. I appreciate all the love, the comments, the likes,
Thanks for
the
being
agreement on Brett Veach and his vast disrespect that we're all feeling and how angry I got. I'd like it, honestly, if you guys would give us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast, but preferably on Apple Music, because that's what I can at least see when I check out the latest, reviews. Means a lot to Brisco and myself. Maybe even a like on YouTube.
Be fabulous. If you'd like to mail $5 to Sterling Holmes, his home address is, hold on, let me get it.
Oh, I that's fine.
5199 West 94th Avenue, Overland Park, Kansas. Whatever your zip code is.
You got like
a couple digits. Did I get a couple of digits?
That right? No.
You're in Overland Park, right?
Yeah, you got a 10 to that right.
There we
got
go.
like a
That's
10
fine.
to that. Nice. Nails.
Well, if you want to call Sterling Holmes, his personal cell phone number is 913.
Richard, cut it. No, appreciate you guys. Until next time, we are
578